We're now going to move on to modifying roofs. So the first thing we should do is have a look at it. I'm going to use the default 3D view at the top on the bar here. It should switch to a default view. If you want to look around, you can hold Shift and middle mouse button to rotate the building. See the roof from different angles. If you select the roof, it should tell you which base level it's on. In my case, it's level 2. By going to level 2, you should see the roof edge around the edge of the building. If you then go up to the Modify Roofs toolbar at the top, once you've selected it, and then hit Edit Footprint, this is how you're going to modify your roof. Currently we have two sides that are defining the slope, the north and the south. If you want to do a monopitch, you're going to have to select a single side. So in this case, I'm going to select the north and the south. And if you come up, a bar should appear with this tick box for defined slope. I'm going to untick that so that these two edges no longer define the slope of the roof. Instead, I'm going to select the western edge and tick for this to define the slope. What this should do is create a monopitch, starting from this position on level 2 and moving upwards from there. And it's currently set to have a 15-degree angle. So if you click to finish editing mode, that should finish it, and you should see now that the roof is being cut through by this view. If you switch to your 3D view, you can now see that you have a monopitch roof. Now in this case it's quite extreme, the angle, so I'm going to select the roof and drop the slope down to 10 degrees, just in the properties bar here on the right. Now you can apply, or you can click the space. That looks a little bit more realistic. So that is how you would make a monopitch roof. If, however, you'd like to do a different style of roof, like I do, we should go back to the roof on level 2, select it again, go to edit the footprint, and we're going to no longer define it just by one side. We're going to select the other sides, and we're going to click define slope. You can do that in the properties bar or over here above. And now I'm going to show you all 4 sides defining the slope. Click to close the editing mode. And if we come to the 3D view, you should see that 4 sides are now defining the slope of the roof. If you want, like I do, to have just 2 sides defining the slope, then we can go back to edit mode. Make sure that the western and eastern are no longer defining the slope. And we're going to want quite a short slope to the middle of the building. I'm going to leave the north and the south therefore to define the slope only. You simply close to finish the editing mode. Come back to your 3D view, and you can see that now just 2 sides are pitching towards the center. And you can also make a more realistic angle. Put that back up to 15 degrees. It's quite a short angle, quite a short distance to fall. And that's how I would want the roof to be formed. One issue is likely to come up is the interaction between the walls and the roof. The roof, if you select it, all of the walls are currently meeting it underneath, but that might not be the case when you modify them. That all depends on the settings. If we come to the section, the level 1 plan, we should select all of the walls. Now you may want to hold Control to select them, but there's a much faster method. If we click and drag from the top left to the bottom right, make sure to get all of the walls within that area. We can then filter them using the filter tool at the bottom right. If you click this symbol, the filter toolbar comes up, and it has all of the objects that you've selected there. If we click check none, that will deselect them all, and then we can simply tick the walls. This will now restrict our selection to only the walls. Click apply, click OK. We now have all of the walls ready to change their settings. One other note, you may wish to save your selection sometimes. To save time, it can be useful to know that you've got all of the walls under one selection tool that you can simply load. But in this case, we're just going to proceed with modifying, and I'm going to go to the section. Now, each wall has already been attached to this roof. You can tell that because all of their settings have been overridden so that they come up to the height. A lot of them were originally set to level 2 at the top of the head of the wall. So if we now click detach and then click on the roof, this will detach all the walls from that roof. And you can now see they revert to their original settings. I deliberately set one wall up as being much taller. The others have allowed to stay at a much lower height. That shows you that they all have their original settings. This will create a lot of strange gaps and wall overruns through the roof. So what you want to do to resolve that, if you have that issue, is to simply go back and click. Once you have selected the walls, click attach, top base, and click on the roof. Now all of the walls selected will adjust themselves to that roof height. Go to 3D view, that should be back to normal. And that is the end of the tutorial on modifying roofs.